have a shot of the production room. They're the guys take that room there where they do all the switching of the cameras. Quite an impressive professional crew that we are very lucky to have. Sleeping Dog Productions, air-to-air TV. They are the talented people who make us all look good. But thanks to Ron and Diane Fagen of Fagen Fighters WWII Museum in Granite Falls, Minnesota, for giving us this building where they are able to operate. Today's program, we obviously gonna talk about the A-10 and the P-47, some very good guests. The moderator for the program will be out in just a few minutes. To introduce them, our moderator is Brigadier General Retired Ed McElhenney, but no more from me. Let's watch the video to introduce this program, and thanks to all of you for being here.
December 1944. German forces counterattack through Belgium's Argonne forest, overrunning American positions and surrounding Allied forces in the town of Bastogne. Allied efforts to relieve the town are blocked by German Panzers. On Christmas Day, the skies clear for the first time in weeks. American P-47 Thunderbolts and British Hawker Tempests pounce on the Germans in low-level attacks, destroying armor and supply trucks and mauling infantry positions. The German advance is halted, and Allied armor reaches Bastogne. April 2003. Near Baghdad, Iraq, American forces are attacked by a large Iraqi force and call for immediate help. 2 A-10 Warthog jets race to answer the call. In low-level passes, the A-10s sweep the Iraqis with cannon fire and missiles, leaving a trail of destruction. One A-10 is badly damaged by enemy fire, but both return safely to base. The military defines close air support as air action by aircraft against hostile targets that are close to friendly forces on the ground, and that action requires coordination with those friendly forces. Republic's P-47 Thunderbolt and the Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt II are among the champions of close air support. The P-47, nicknamed the Jug, was designed as a high-altitude fighter and bomber escort, and it did those jobs well. It was huge, as fighters go, with a takeoff weight of 8 tons. And it was fast, with a top speed of 426 miles per hour. The U.S. 56 Fighter Group, nicknamed Zemke's Wolfpack, flew P-47s throughout the war and scored more aerial victories than any other 9th Air Force fighter group. But the P-47 earned its greatest fame in low-level ground attacks. Its 8 50-caliber machine guns threw 6,000 rounds per minute. With a 2,500-pound bomb load or 10 5-inch rockets under its wings, the Jug could demolish tanks, trucks, locomotives and rail cars, small buildings, supply dumps, airfields, artillery, and infantry. It could absorb lots of damage and still bring its pilot home. Like the P-47, the A-10 can deliver a lethal strike against ground targets. Its rotating cannon fires depleted uranium shells at 65 rounds per second, and they can penetrate the heaviest tank armor. The A-10 can carry ordnance from bombs to guided missiles. And like the P-47, it can take lots of battle damage and survive. General John Campbell, who commanded Allied forces in Afghanistan, called the A-10 the ugliest, most beautiful aircraft in the world. The A-10 was designed specifically for close air support, forward air control, and search and rescue. First deployed in 1976, it served well in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other war zones. The U.S. Air Force began retiring A-10s in 2023, intending to replace it with the new F-35 stealth fighter. But the Air Force continues to use upgraded A-10s in training exercises, and many strategists argue that no other aircraft in America's arsenal can provide close air support as effectively as the Warthog. The Republic Aviation P-47 on display is a D model, a Razorback, so named for the long fuselage fairing behind the cockpit canopy. Painstakingly restored, it is the only one of its kind in flying condition. Its paint scheme honors General Bill Dunham, a World War II triple ace who led the 460th Fighter Squadron in the Pacific. Dunham named his 3 P-47s Bonnie, after the love of his life.
Follow me. Thank you, Connie. Thanks. Watch out for the prop. I know you're not used to that.
No.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ed McElhenney. I'm going to be the moderator again for the program this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We have a rather unique program this afternoon. As you can tell, we've got a rather large jet over here on my right, and I'll say this is a kind of a large fighter from World War II on my left. But most importantly, we've got these gentlemen down here, which is really nice to see underneath the umbrellas. I'm thrilled about the umbrellas. But we've got Slug, Chris Campbell, Chris Palmer is the Ops Group Commander of the Maryland Air National Guard. We've got Roxanne, Flight Commander, again, same Air National Guard. And we've got Bernie Vasquez down the end. He's representing the P-47 here. And I'll just say now, I'm kind of blood brothers with these A-10 guys. I was a Guard guy way back when, and did it for a long, long time. And that's exactly what they are. And the flow of today's brief is going to be, okay, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the missions. We'll talk a little bit about the aircraft differences, if you will. And then we'll do a walk around of the A-10 for sure, and we'll do a brief walk around for the P-47, open it up to questions, and then we'll go from there. But with that, I'd like to open it up. Well, and I have to also say that these two Guard guys. Well, are there Guard guys out there in the audience? Any of the hog drivers? Any of the hog drivers make it? Okay. First, you hog guys in the audience, stand up. I want to recognize. Okay. These are the A-10 guys who did it way back when. Thank you very much. Stay standing now, okay? All right. Now, how about the rest of you guys? And the rest of the guys and gals who are veterans out there. I want to get you all to stand up and say thank you for your service. Thank you so much. And what I'd really like to bring out is this morning we had Joe Peterburs, who was out here, 100 years old, former P-51 guy, and shot down the ME-262. Great event, a great program. He did that, though, a long time ago. And I'm here to say, first of all, thank you, because these two guys right here do it for real. And they do it for real right now. Slug, well, I'm going to go by call signs, by the way. We got Slug, we got Rock, we got Bernie, and they got me. And I'm Dusty, by the way. But Slug, I'm just going to say right now, when was the last deployment? When did you guys last go somewhere and shoot bullets?
Yeah, we deployed last year to CENTCOM and returned around July of last year.
Okay, and how long were you deployed?
It was about a 3-month deployment in country, gone about 4 months total.
Okay, and how many deployments have you guys had? I'll just say in the recent past. How often do they send you overseas?
Yeah, personally, that was my 5th deployment, and started flying the A-10 in 2010, and basically deployed in 2011, and then thereafter every 2 or 3 years, pretty rhythmically, supporting both Enduring Freedom, Freedom Sentinel, Inherent Resolve, Poseidon Archer, a variety of operations.
Okay, combat hours. How many combat hours you got?
Just a shade under 1,500.
Okay. So these are the guys that, you know, we don't even really think about this, but these guys are over there now. Okay. Well, one of your guys just got back, right? He was just out here. He got back. Literally, the first flight was yesterday since he got back from the desert. So I got to say thank you guys for doing what you do and protecting us here. We really appreciate that. But and one other small snippet is I actually knew Slug when he was a cadet at the Air Force Academy, by the way. That was a long time ago, but yeah, you know, I saw his name and I'm kind of going, now wait a second, and sure enough, I put 2 and 2 together, and he was a Air Force lacrosse player, by the way, and I was also, and that was where our connection. He thinks he broke my ribs at one time in an alumni game, and I don't think it was you, but yeah, who knows. Anyway, let's get into some of the stories, and I got to say, you know, the A-10, if you didn't know, is going away. This aircraft in particular, is this one going to be delivered to the boneyard here shortly? Rock?
Yeah, that's right. Next Tuesday, she goes out to Davis-Monthan.
Okay, next Tuesday, it's going to the boneyard. The A-10s are all going to be gone by? Probably
the end of next year.
Okay, and the next year, this airplane and all of its brothers out there are going to be gone. I, you know, personally think we're losing a great asset, and I'm sure these guys are going to agree with that. But with that, let me just ask, on some of these deployments, you know, I'll get into the specifics of the airplanes, I guess, first. You know, gross weight, how heavy?
Max takeoff weight, about 51,000 pounds.
Loaded up with?
Ordnance, yeah.
Okay.
Max.
All right, and we already, I think they talked about, that's the GAU-8 gun in the nose of that thing. And 30 millimeter, how many rounds you carry?
1,174.
Okay. Typical loadout on a close air support mission over in the desert. What was a typical loadout over there?
Yeah, Dusty, I'll start from left to right in the crowd. So that's the Lightning Gen 4 targeting pod. Typically would carry that on every mission, and that's pivotal to the tactics we have as a 2-ship, both identifying enemy movements, enemy forces, as well as guiding in some of our munitions. Typically we would have a Maverick air-to-ground missile. You can see that as a training missile, but on the station over there on the right side. But that is a Maverick air-to-ground missile.
That's electro-optical, by the way. That's how it's guided.
Yeah, it actually guides electro-optical, and then we have an IR version as well as a laser-guided version.
Okay.
Typically your bombs are underneath the aircraft between stations 4 and 8. We can carry 2,000-pound bombs, 500-pound bombs, laser-guided bombs, GBU-38, 54, variety of different munitions there. Definitely on station 10, typically we'll have rockets there. And then depending on the theater, we would have an AIM-9 mic on the outside, either station 1 or 11 for, that's an air-to-air missile, purely really self-protection.
Okay, what else do you have in terms of self-protection?
Chaff under the aircraft, you can see there's a couple of the sensory-looking things on the front and back, and then on the wingtips. So we got radar warning receivers around the aircraft, as well as like infrared sensors that'll be able to detect like a man pad, like a shoulder-fired rocket. Those types of missiles, and then all those systems work together. We have the different countermeasure sets in each of the wingtips, and then behind the gear pods, we can carry chaff and flare countermeasures. Okay, so you're fairly well protected. And I got to ask, you know, you carried AIM-9s. Has anybody ever shot anything with an AIM-9 in anger from an A-10? Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I heard there was an air-to-air kill at one time on a helicopter from an A-10. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's the only air-to-air kill I've heard with an A-10. It's not designed for air-to-air, by the way, as opposed to this airplane that had a lot of air-to-air kills. But yeah, self-protection. It's still nice to be able to sit there and hey, scare somebody off and put a missile in the air, if you will.
Yeah, we can look tough when we need to. You know, turn that nose. One of the strengths, and we'll get it to the walk-around, but the airplane turns really tight. Big, thick, straight wings. You can get that nose around pretty quick, and you'll surprise a lot of the fast mover guys pretty quick if they're not expecting it.
Okay, how about, you know, fuel? I'll just ask, typical desert mission over there. You know, you get up early in the morning, and hey, you brief, you go fly, and you come back and you debrief. And on a typical mission like that, what's a typical length of mission? I know you're going to probably refuel several times while you're up there, but go ahead, Slug.
Yeah, it depended on the theater, but I've had you know, missions as long as 10 hours in combat. But generally, you're looking at 6 to 9 hours. A 9 would be a longer mission. Most recent deployment, 4 to 6 hours. And that's 2 to 3 air refuelings, generally.
Okay. How about night stuff? How much night stuff are you guys doing with this thing? And what kind of additional equipment are you wearing or does the airplane have for night missions?
Yeah, in combat, we fly the same as we would during the daytime, the same proportion of flights, if not more, actually, at night. Mm-hmm. We fly with night vision goggles, of course. We have covert lights, so night vision compatible or NVIS compatible lights. And then we would do all of the same type of missions we would do during the day at night as well. Okay. And that's important, you know, because the bad guys typically don't have that kind of capability, and we do, so they can't hide from us at night. That's the really good news. Okay, let's talk about some, you know, specifics in terms of missions. You know, you've got some good ones, I'm sure, and some bad ones. I know we kind of talked a little bit about those, but give me like your best mission, your most satisfying mission in the airplane in combat. Well, yeah, we can go either way, but go ahead, Slug. Yeah, I think first I would preface this with, you know, the story I'm going to tell is not unique to me. That is, you know, there's hog drivers here in the crowd. Any hog driver that's been flying this aircraft in the last 20 to 25 years that's been deployed to the theaters we've been at, as well as Desert Storm before that, they've all done this. So we are certainly not special. We're just proud to really continue the legacy. But you know, one mission that comes to mind for me, we were flying out of Bagram. This was in about 2013 time frame, and we launched on basically a sunrise mission and full loadout. So basically 400 or 500-pound bombs, full loaded gun. We had Mavericks. We had the targeting pod. I was flying with a guy named Face. I was flying with the 74th Fighter Squadron out of Moody Air Force Base. That is, for those in the crowd, the premier fighter squadron at Moody Air Force Base. Shout out to Queen there. Second to one. Yeah. At Moody Air Force Base, the premier fighter squadron was the 74th Fighter Squadron, of course. But unique mission. We took off on a sunrise mission, retasked right away. It was an exfil of a special operations mission that had run long. partner force integrated, so there was some Afghan forces mixed with our U.S. Special Forces, and it's higher threat when they've been on the ground for a long time. So this is the situation. Everybody in this area of responsibility knows that our guys are there and that they'll be exfilling shortly. So we show up overhead just northwest of Jalalabad, Afghanistan, and situation is basically a north-south riverbed, and the friendlies are on the east side of the tree line, in a tree line, exfilling to the south, and they become troops in contact, so they're taking heavy machine gun, Dishka, RPG fire from the west side of the tree line. We work with the JTAC to get a 9-line. It's troops in contact, and it is an urgent troops in contact. It's very clear by the inflection in their voice, of course, and we can hear the rounds through the radio. But so as part of the line 7 of the 9-line, they were going to mark with white smoke their position because they're moving south, and it was difficult to see them through the tree line, as well as detect who was the forward and rear part of the whole movement of forces. So 9-line's complete. All of our proper readbacks done. We're ready. We're going to shoot the gun, and the friendlies pop white smoke. And we've been in Afghanistan now for 10 plus years, and the enemy was very familiar with our tactics. So white smoke from the east tree line, and then on the west side, red smoke. So that was interesting that the enemy knew our tactics. They were trying to confuse us a little bit, but actually, to their detriment, instantly highlighted their position. We kind of knew where they were, but now we definitely knew where they were. So Face and I roll in right away. We start strafing. I had one pass where actually I had a 30 millimeter detonate in front of the aircraft. So basically, if one round comes out slower than another, with a high explosive incendiary round, it'll fuse in front of the jet. A little bit of an explosion. Safe escape maneuver, check the jet out. It's good. They're still taking fire. So we continue to roll in, and Face and I actually emptied the guns on them, on the enemy there, on that west side of that tree line. Friendlies were able to egress. And the really unique part about this mission was those guys came back to Bagram. They had some minor injuries. There was a hospital at Bagram, and we actually got to go visit them in the hospital. So a unique mission. Again, I was fortunate to be there, but any hog driver that was deployed during this time frame will have a similar story. So just proud to be a part of that legacy.
Hope they bought you a few drinks when they met up with you too.
Well, of course we weren't drinking in Afghanistan, of course. So.
Of course,
yes,
of course.
So.
Yep. So. How about you, Rock? Any really good one when you were deployed and shooting bullets for real?
Yeah. So Slug, he's actually got about 10 times the combat experience that I do. So he's got a lot more great stories to draw from. My first deployment was in 2019 in Afghanistan. The squadron was divided up into 3 shifts, and Slug was obviously a combat veteran at the time, and I was same shift with Slug and another guy named Fife. And Fife and I were flying one night in Afghanistan. We actually didn't drop or shoot or anything this night, but I was a brand new, barely captain, flight lead at the time, my first combat deployment. We're flying at night, and one of the things that we trained to, obviously the close air support, search and rescue, and then another mission set is the forward air control. So I had just recently completed the forward air control upgrade to where we train just with managing different assets and then calling in airstrikes from our vantage point in the sky. So that night we had tankers in the overhead. We had our 2 ship of A-10s. We had some AC-130s working around supporting an exfil, like a village clearing mission, and then an exfil with MH-47s. There was AH-64s, attack helicopters standing by in support, and then we had a U-28 support aircraft in the stack as well. And at the time, I think we were just kind of running a limited number of 2 ships at the time, so Fife and I were the only A-10s airborne that night, at least in that part of the country. And so as we're working down gas, managing our time on station, we're doing yo-yo tanker ops. And so we we get the stack, we take control of all the airborne assets. We're monitoring the situation on the ground, working with the U-28s and working with the Army forces that are embedded with partner Afghan forces on the ground. And just we didn't shoot anything that night, but it just kind of the moment struck me. Fife goes off to the tanker, says, "Rock, you got it. Good luck, Godspeed, and I'll be back. Keep me in the loop on the radio with anything if anything pops up." And so he goes off to the tanker, and for 20 minutes, I'm in control. I'm running 6 to 9 different aerial assets, working with troops on the ground, and just for a young guy to go in and at that level of training on a deployment like that, kind of just speaks to the mission and the training that we get as A-10 pilots.
Yeah, it's truly quite an air show, in terms of, okay, you got the A-10s in there, you got helicopters in there, you got the tankers up there, you probably got AWACS going around somewhere up there, and a lot's going on. And I was a forward air controller briefly, and Slug was talking about 9-line. 9-line is the information that a forward air controller will give the fighters to sit there and say, okay, this is the target. These are the friendlies. This is, and it's literally, it's 9 lines of information that you got to give to the attack pilots out there so they don't make a mistake and drop on the wrong place out there. But yeah, the 9-line it was standard. And again, they turned the A-10 into for a while into a forward air controller. I think they call it the OA-10, right? And it's good in that, hey, it's got a lot of self-protection, of course. It's got great visibility, and it goes pretty slow, so you can sit there and see what the bad guys, so to speak. So okay, let's go a little bit just to compare, and in terms of parameters. Top speed of the P-47, Bernie?
426 miles an hour.
426 miles an hour. Okay. Top speed of the A-10.
We can scratch 450 in a dive, but it's kind of rare to get doing that fast.
So that's pretty impressive. So that airplane is faster than that airplane. Armament, you guys obviously carry a lot, but I will say this thing has got typically, 850 cals in the wing. How many rounds would it carry? There was a boatload. I think it was like 3,400 rounds or something like that of 50 cal. And yeah, from a strafing standpoint, yeah, that thing did a heck of a job. Gross weight, what's max gross weight on this thing, Bernie? Something? Okay. Yeah.
It's close to 20,000 pounds.
Okay, 20. Yeah, and we already talked about what's going on over there. Okay, talk a little bit now about some of the worst situations that you had over there. Slug, how about a bad one that you felt frustrated with and you couldn't do anything about?
Yeah, this one was difficult and legendary for all the wrong reasons. But we were flying out of Kandahar. I was stationed at Moody Air Force Base. We were flying out of Kandahar in 2011, August 6, 2011. Unfortunately, CH-47 with 30 U.S. forces, 8 Afghan partner forces, and a working dog was shot down in central Afghanistan. Call sign was Extortion 17. 22 Navy SEALs passed away. I believe the deadliest day for the Navy SEALs in their history. Just tragic. And we were overhead. I was not overhead right away. I was overhead a little bit later in the recovery efforts. And it was difficult. It was difficult just to hear. They had infilled a QRF of Navy SEALs, a quick reaction force of Navy SEALs to recover their brothers. There was a massive rainstorm that happened. So you can imagine they've compiled or gotten basically everything into one area, and then a massive rainstorm comes through and basically moves everything around, and now they've got to recover remains again. Difficult. Of course, there was sniper fire, RPG fire as well. We were able to suppress some of that with the gun, but a difficult, tragic situation, and a lot of Navy SEALs lost their lives. It's close to me. My father's buried at Arlington, and they're buried right next door. So that's tough.
That's a bad one. You're right. Talk again back a little bit about the airplane. You were talking about weather. How's that thing doing the weather? Any kind of anti-ice or de-ice capability? Hey, flying along, and now all of a sudden you look out of your wing and you're going, or in the canopy, go, oh, here comes the ice. You just basically say, yeah, I got to get out of it. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, we have some anti-ice capability basically on the canopy, and like the pitot tube and things like that, pitot heat, I guess.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, in a training environment, we would try to avoid icing, or at least climbing or cruising through icing conditions, climbing, descending through light rime if need be. In a combat situation, you know, we were flying out of Incirlik, supporting OIR, and we would pass through massive storms that you end up with ice as like a snow cone on front of a GBU-54. So it can still fly, obviously through all weather conditions. I think, Dusty, good opportunity just to, you know, you're up here recognizing us as pilots, but it's a team effort, and our maintenance personnel are world class. In the Maryland Guard specifically, they're actually have been recognized for you know, world class FMC rates, managing over 80% on average FMC rates. I've been on multiple deployments, and we haven't lost a single combat line due to maintenance, which is just incredible. So certainly appreciate you recognizing us, but just realizing it's a team that gets these jets airborne. But we can fly all weather situations, and we can drop bombs through all different weather situations. So.
Okay, and I appreciate the maintenance kudos there. I was a maintenance commander also, and yeah, you know, we couldn't do it without them, obviously, and yeah, they kept me alive for you know, 33 years and flying airplanes out there. So yeah, I agree completely. All right, let's you know, in terms of differences, we talked about weight, we talked about armament. How about you know, one advantage you've got, of course, is you got an ejection seat in there. What kind of ejection seat you got?
We got an ACES 2 ejection seat. That's pretty one of the kind of the standard seats throughout most of the fighter force.
Yeah, same seat that I rode in the F-16, and it's very, very capable. We had 3 modes on my seat, I know that, and you guys probably get the same, you know, in terms of your speed, your altitude, et cetera. But it's a very capable airplane. But in addition, in terms of, you didn't talk about this, but in terms of armament, or defensive armament, I should say, what else? You know, the cockpit is kind of protected, isn't it?
Yeah, so in addition to the massive gun and just all the armor and that provides, just the iron that is, we've got a titanium bathtub that surrounds the bottom and rear part of the cockpit that is 23 millimeter up, in some cases even larger depending on the angle that it'll protect us from. That also can protect some of the critical flight controls that run out of the cockpit towards all the flight controls of the aircraft. Okay,
and how about in terms of ordnance? You know, you start dropping bombs. I'm assuming you can do low angle stuff, you can do 30 degree, 20 degree, and LGB stuff. How accurate can you be? You know, say, okay, you want to stay out of small arms. So how high are you going to be to stay out of small arms fire?
Above 10,000 feet.
Okay.
Keeps you safe from pretty much anything.
All right, so you're flying around at 10,000 feet, you got a target down there, and you got to put a 500-pound LGB on it. How close can you come to the target? What kind of CEPs can you?
Right here.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, you guys, and that's day or night, correct? Okay,
correct.
Day or night, that's how close they can come. And now you start worrying about collateral damage. And did you guys carry small diameter bombs also? Did you,
we have started carrying those, yes.
Okay, because hey, now you can drop smaller bombs, be even more precise, and do it that way. All right, how about worst story for you, Rock? You know, any really bad situations over there?
Kind of similar to Slug in 2019, as the end of the winter 2019 season. We were working out of Kandahar. I was flying with Juicy that night, another night sortie. We dropped a few munitions up in the northeast part of the country, and then command control comes over and retasks us down towards Bagram Air Base. There was a kind of one of those village clearing operations that was returning back to Bagram, the big convoy, and they were targeted by an IED on their way back to base. So by the time that we got into the overhead, there was not much that we could do to any defensive or proactive measures there, but there was 3 Marine reservists that lost their lives in that IED attack with an Afghan interpreter. So we were overhead. We provided cover for some Apaches, and then the rest of the convoyers that were moving back into base from there. But it's kind of just one of those situations where, kind of like you said, you feel helpless that you're not able to do anything in that moment. So it was a pretty tough. That was a tough night.
Yep, understand. How about off-field operations? You know, it's got pretty big tires on this thing. Do you guys practice any, you know, hey, landing strange places? This thing obviously was, you know, have you operated off grass? I'm sure you have with this thing, haven't you?
Actually, I haven't.
No, you haven't. Okay,
No.
but it did, obviously.
Oh, it did, yeah.
You know, it had no problem. But how about you guys? You know, if you got to go to some austere area out there, do you practice? How can that do in, you know, a dirt situation or a grass situation, something like that?
Yeah, very well. We would need a combat control team or something like that to, you know, to assess that landing environment. But routinely landing in dry lake beds out in Nevada, that's done with the weapons school, with green flag, different exercises out there. So that's done routinely. Actually, interestingly, with the 104th Fighter Squadron, we were TDY to Estonia in the 2017 timeframe. And we actually set up a portion of this exercise. Estonia is our state partner, NATO country in the Baltics. And we set up a show of force type of event where the Estonians closed down a portion of a highway, which was an old Russian practice landing strip. It had become a highway. The Estonians closed that off. This is about nominally 20 miles or so from the Russian border in eastern Estonia. And we cycled A-10s landing and departing on that highway. So we've done that. Michigan had an exercise where they landed on a highway in Michigan. We can rearm, refuel, again, a testament to our maintenance and our support personnel. But we can forward rearming and refueling pretty much anywhere in the world. So.
In that regard, how about well, I'll go somewhere else right now. Okay, so you can do austere operations, if you will, which is good. Oh, and the minimum length. What would you like? You know, just a nominal case like that. You know, how much runway length do you really need?
The minimum runway landing distance is 5,000 feet. So,
okay.
And if we're not carrying much, reduced fuel weight, reduced pressure altitudes, colder environment. You know, we can take off in a pretty short distance.
Okay.
So.
All right, next question is pretty easy. You know, you lose an engine on this one. Oh, okay, you've only got a couple choices. You lose an engine on that one. How's that thing fly on single engine? I'm sure you practice that on a regular basis. It's obviously not a centerline thrust kind of airplane, I don't think. But tell me, you must practice, you know, on your check rides and stuff flying single engine. How's that do?
Yeah, so we have two simulators at base that we use for all of our emergency procedures training. So Slug is a CFI, so like a check pilot. So he's put me through the ringer in the sim a couple times. But mostly it's just kind of our standard training that we all go through. And the simulator does a really, really good job of replicating everything in the airplane. So it's, and we will practice in flight, like throttling back an engine. We won't actually shut one off. Mm-hmm. But it's actually a pretty reasonable amount. You know, you put in about a full boot of rudder, but it doesn't fly too bad. Single engine. So.
Okay, good. And how about IFR kind of conditions? I'm sure you probably fly every instrument approach out there: ILS, back course, front course, TACAN approaches, VORs, GPS, all that stuff pretty easy. And you got a nice heads-up display. And can you fly everything off the heads-up display?
We can't.
Sounds like there's more to this story.
Yeah, so we've got all the airspeed, altitude, everything, you know, the heading, everything is in the heads-up display. It's not instrument certified, so we're kind of just like using the six-pack, just like your Skyhawk pilot, flying around, looking down mostly. All of our instrumentation, you can see, I don't know if they have any pictures of the cockpit up on the big video boards, but really big cockpit with a lot of, you know, all that instrumentation there right in front of you, pretty easy to read. So.
Yeah, okay. Want to get real quick for those youngsters out there or parents who may be having an interest. How'd you get to be an A-10 pilot? I'll start with Rock first, okay? You know, what do you do? Sit there and say, ooh, hey, I want to fly the A-10. How do I get there from here?
Yeah, so there's a couple different paths. Slug and I are good examples of kind of two different ways to end up at the same spot. So I started flying when I was in high school, a small town in northwest Iowa. I got my private pilot's license in high school and then went to South Dakota State. I finished my rating, started instructing there for a few years, accumulated some hours and got hired at Air Wisconsin. I flew for a regional airline for a few years, flying on the East Coast, at about 2012, 2013. I'd always been interested in the Guard, trying to do the Guard units will hire off the street, like a undergraduate pilot training hire to go all through the training pipeline. and then we'll also hire rated pilots off the street. So I was a UPT hire off the street in 2013, and then I took a break from Air Wisconsin, went and did all the military pilot training, A-10 initial qual, seasoning days, and then a deployment. I went back to Air Wisconsin and then flying for United now. So it's kind of the roundabout way to get there, but that's kind of a traditional guardsman path.
Okay, we call him, yeah, he's a traditional guardsman, and that's what I was for many years. But yeah, so that's truly a guy with two jobs, okay? And when it comes time to deploy, and he is deployed, obviously, the airlines go, okay, go ahead, give us a call when you get back, and the airlines welcome you back, and you lose your seniority number. That's the really good news. But yeah, I'm very familiar with that. Then I'm also familiar with Slug, who did things a little bit different. Slug, how'd you get to where you are?
Yeah, my dad was a Marine Corps A4 pilot, so I've been around aviation, but I went to the Air Force Academy purely as a meathead to play lacrosse. and then when you leave the Air Force Academy, you have to do something. I was a civil engineering grad, so I was either going to do that or fly. So I had zero general aviation experience graduating from the Air Force Academy. Went to Destin on a casual assignment, and I got my private pilot's license, and then straight into pilot training. Out of pilot training, I wanted A-10s, didn't get them. I did what they call first assignment instructor pilot. So at Columbus Air Force Base, spent 3 years flying T-38s as an instructor pilot. Then was fortunate to go to the A-10 FTU at Davis-Monthan. And then that was my path into the A-10. During my formal training at Davis-Monthan, one of currently the fighter squadron commander in Maryland, Woody Griffin, was there. So got to know him, became friends, kept in touch. And then I did a couple assignments on active duty, and then reached out to Woody. It was time to leave active duty and go to the Guard. So what Woody did was, he said, we don't work on Mondays. We don't do computer-based training. We don't have to do exercises in chemical gear, MOP 4. Basically, any of the stuff that we really didn't like doing on active duty, OPRs and things like that. He said that none of that exists in the Guard. So I was sold. So joined the Guard in 2016. Super fortunate. Metro offered me a job there. And it turns out that it's true they don't work on Mondays, but actually all the other stuff does actually exist in the Guard as well. But been awesome to be in the Guard, and a bit of a fraternity where we kind of select who joins our unit, and it becomes like a family, like a brotherhood for sure.
So he's full-time. They call it AGR, Active Guard Reserve. But, oh, by the way, you also got hired by some other airline, too.
Yes.
So, but again, the good news there is, hey, he told the airline that, hey, they need me full-time, so he's taken a leave of absence from that airline. And the really good news is, hey, when he retires from this job, he can go back to that airline. And I think that one's called, Southwest or something like that, somewhere along in there. So, and I'm not going to leave Bernie out of this. I want to know, Bernie, how do you get, he flies just about everything, all the World War II fighters. I mean, every time I turn around, it's like, oh, that's Bernie again. I don't know if you fly like the B-29 or anything like that, but how do you get a chance to be good and flying all these things other than being lucky?
Well, luck was a big part of it, but the typical, just like him, fell in love with aviation at a young age. And I tell everybody, I just went to the airport and I never left. I went there, there was no fences. I rode my bike to the local airport, had a couple people take me under their wings, and then I did the same thing. I worked at the airport, pumped gas. I never ever took a paycheck. I was getting paid like $5.50. And all of that went on the books, and that's how I got my pilot's license.
Wow.
My mom didn't have any money. Flying was not, they still think I'm nuts for doing it. So it became, and I was very fortunate. I turned my passion and what most people do on Saturdays as a hobby, I somehow developed it into a full-time career. I mean, I live, eat, breathe. I'm fortunate enough to live on a private little airport. The shop is 250 yards from my backyard. I can walk in my flip-flops to work. And it's just, and now I've got a 5-year-old son, and he's following my footsteps. He's in the shop every day after school, and the guys take him under his wing, and we're I just shoved him in the back of a Spitfire to put the bolt in I couldn't get about a month ago. So
yeah, you got those small little fingers over there. You put them to use.
Just shoved him. His whole body was in there. He was standing up in the tail cone, putting the bolt in the elevator.
That's great. And Rock, by the way, is also a GA guy. You got a
super decathlon.
A super decathlon. So he flies a tail dragger out there also. So and Slug, I'm sorry, you're just an A-10 full-time guy and an airline guy. So all right, let's do a walk around, and I suspect, let's start with the A-10, then we'll move over to the P-47. So we decided that we're going to split it up, and so who wants to go first? So you want to go, Slug, you're going to do the first walk around, and we'll start over here on the left side of the aircraft, and we'll go from there. So
okay.
You got it.
Okay, so you know what you're looking at here, what we can show if we if the battery pin is off. So kind of first step when you're getting in an A-10, we got a ladder release right here. Not working. Oh well. Figure out why. Battery maybe dead. We'll get back to that. Normally the battery comes, the ladder comes out. There's a crew chief right there. Can you fix that?
Fix that.
Yeah. So the ladder's down. You know, we'll meet the crew chief. Look at the forms. We'll start here. Basically, you know, I'm going to start kind of just looking at general condition of the airplane, checking for any kind of hinges or panels that are loose. Up under here is our rounds counter. So if a normal training mission, I'll set that to 100 rounds, 200 rounds if the weapons officer is feeling generous. In combat, we set that to a no-limit condition, so basically it's never going to stop. But in a training environment, if it's set to 100, once we've shot 100 rounds, it's just going to cut off, and we can't shoot anymore. This is our battery here, which I think might be dead. All right, and then we'll talk about the gun. So the gun, 7 barrels. The barrels go from obviously here, and then they kind of extend all the way back to about here or so, and they weigh nominally, you know, 104 pounds or so, pretty heavy. And then when you're looking at the jet, basically imagine a 55-gallon drum right here, and that's full of 30 millimeters. So that's just a general pre-flight of this kind of portion of the aircraft. I'll just talk real quickly over here. What you're looking at, these are travel pods. So these are purely swag, luggage, perhaps some golf clubs if you need them. Maintenance generally takes one of these, chalks, fuel cans, things like that. And then we brought an extra one here to bring some swag so that we could sell it. When you talk about refueling the A-10, it's right here, so single point refueling. And then the crew chiefs do this. I don't really know what it does, and it always works, so I just let them do it. And the pins are generally over here, some throttle covers and things like that. We talked about 11 stations on the airplane, outboard stations, air-to-air missiles. Generally, that's only generally what I've flown with. Although when we were in Incirlik flying in Operation Inherent Resolve, we did have some situations where we actually put bombs on the outside stations, 1 and 11, because we simply couldn't carry enough bombs to kill ISIS. So this is a Maverick air-to-ground missile. For a pre-flight, I just look at it. It looks like it's connected. It's blue, so it's inert. That's about it. It's either going to work or it's not, but it's stuck on the airplane. It's not going anywhere. This is an infrared seeker, and basically this will function the same as a live air-to-ground missile would. But again, pre-flight, most of this stuff I'm just looking at it, checking general condition. You know, obviously we're going to get some cracks in the paint and things like that, but we have an amazing maintenance team. So most of it, I just assume it's good to go, and that's worked for at least the last 16 years or so. But Rock, you want to pick up a little bit? You know what? We can talk a little bit about the landing gear. There's some tolerance here. I don't remember what it is, but if this thing's like sitting on here, I know that's wrong. If we got a space like this, that seems that's about right. The nose wheel, generally you're not going to see any red for sure. You may see some white. There's obviously some pins and streamers. So, you know, one last look before I strap on the G-suit and the harness. I'm just going to take a look and make sure that there's no streamers or any pins that we haven't pulled on accident. But Other than that, that's kind of this front portion of the airplane, and again, just checking general condition of it.
All right, hold on, Rock. He talked about the gun for a second, and the gun is mounted right down the center line, correct? Okay, it's perfect right down the middle. And if you look, the nose gear is not, right? The nose gear is off just a little bit, okay? And for those of you who want to know what a 30 millimeter round looks like, that's it, okay? And yeah, they carry, blue tip is normally TP, and that's what, I used to shoot, not 30s, but 20s. Then you guys carry those depleted. And I don't know what your standard round was, incendiary or HE, or I don't know, what was a standard combat mission load for you?
Yeah, standard combat load would be a high explosive incendiary round. It would be a yellow and red tip. Had a fuse right here, and then some frag on the inside. So as it leaves the airplane, it spins, it arms, and very deadly on certainly people, soft-skinned vehicles, donkeys here and there, things like that. So anyway, there you go.
All right, thanks. Okay, Rock, sorry to jump in. Go ahead. Continue.
No, yeah, a lot of operations in the desert, so camels are, they're nefarious enough. So like Dusty was saying, so the barrel that's always firing is the barrel that is on the exact longitudinal axis of the aircraft. So that way there's no yaw induced as the gun is firing. A couple of just kind of some more like the neat features. So A-10 guys, size matters. It's, point that out first and foremost. So Slug talked a little bit about the gun. Some of the other features about the gun. So on the trigger, there's actually two detents that we use to fire the gun. So the first detent, it enables the precision attitude control. So it's like putting the A-10 in like dog on a bone mode. So it stiffens the flight controls. It takes kind of a sniff of atmospheric conditions, airspeed, altitude, control force inputs, and it freezes the airplane to make it a more stable platform for the gun. The hydraulic systems dampen the flight controls, and so that way the gun cross is dead on target. Mm-hmm. As that's happening, the slats you can see on the inboard part of the wing, those extend. That's going to bring more airflow over the wing and into the engines, maintaining that clean airflow, as well as fire the igniters, so to maintain that continued
And that's on the
ignition.
first detent on the trigger.
That's the first detent on the trigger. And then the second detent is firing the gun.
Okay.
So this is kind of some of the features that they had to work through when they were going through the design and development of the A-10. It took a long time to get a propellant mixture figured out that didn't make too much oxygen deprivation, because they had a lot of issues on initial testing, flaming out the engines. Yep. You can see some of the strakes on the front, and then this air scoop right here. That's all designed to keep a lot of that gun smoke rolling down the belly of the aircraft and not disturbing the engines. You can see also on the kind of look around. Slug talked about the front part of the aircraft. Generally, like you said, nothing really ever breaks. Like, that looks good, strut looks good. It's a tough airplane. It's designed to really follow in the footsteps of that P-47 over there. The rugged, austere operations. It was designed to do that air-to-ground mission. So it's a very tough, very rugged airplane. The armament and armor and everything lends to that. Back here, our dive brakes also double as our aileron. You can see the aileron is it's a split. It's split so that way we can slow down quickly. Again, big, thick, straight wing. We can turn very sharp very quickly, and then if we need to slow down, we can extend those speed brakes, and it's like a barn door extending, and we can stop really fast, again, just to enable all that precision weapons.
Do you use them very often in dive attacks, in dropping bombs? I mean,
generally not dropping a bomb. We're trying to impart as much energy on like a diving weapon as possible. One of the big myths everybody kind of likes to talk to is the gun it fires, the recoil will slow the airplane down. While the gun is incredibly powerful, that's generally anytime we're shooting the gun, we're in a dive, and when you're getting 40,000 pounds of mass going downhill pretty fast. So it might maybe slow our acceleration rate, but it's not going to stall the aircraft.
Yep.
There. But we're going fast, and fastest speed is life as much as we can when we're operating in combat there. Mm-hmm. So those are the ailerons. Some of the self-protection stuff, like we talked, you can see under the wingtips. There, we'll typically carry the chaff over there. Flares we'll usually carry in the aft of the gear pod right there. We've got our APU, like the pony motor, for auxiliary power unit there to help with engine starts. And then bleed air for cockpit environment as well. The twin tails, most of kind of for that redundancy part, the hydraulic systems we get 2 hydraulic systems. They are kind of located on opposite ends of all the control surfaces, and they meet in as few points as possible just for that survivability piece. For the redundancy part, for the most part, the elevators, rudders, ailerons are for the most part all interchangeable from one part to another, just to kind of make for that ease of maintenance and kind of that combat environment, that quick turn ruggedness.
Can you drag the tail on this if you put the nose too high on a landing?
Theoretically, it's possible, but I think it'd be very, very difficult.
Okay. And how about slow flight? How slow can you fly this thing? If you're lightweight, how slow will it go?
120 knots is one of our training rules for like air-to-air employment. It doesn't like to go much below 200 if we're employing. Our best kind of our min maneuvering airspeed is about 200 knots in a combat environment.
And you fly a lot of angle of attack, you know, when you start getting slow. And do you have a warning? Is it an oral system? Is it a?
Yeah. Yep. So we got on the leading edge, the AOA up top, and then on the edge. So we do have an angle of attack, and then the airplane has also given us feedback of we get like a steady tone and a chop tone. So a steady optimal performance, and then a chop tone as we're getting kind of past that AOA limit.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. I'm going to ask Bernie just how much time we got. Not a lot. Quick walk around on the Thunderbolt, the P-47, excuse me, and just you know just do this side of it and start the engine and you know, particulars, things that you're looking for. I learned a long time ago that you know, you have to, before you start these things, and I'm sure it's the same with this, you got to pull a prop through for each cylinder, right? You still got to do that, yeah.
Yeah, they'll liquid lock because the oil is actually about halfway up the engine, and so the bottom pistons have oil sitting on them all the time, and it'll find its way through, and you can end up, if you just get in it and start it, you can end up what we call hydro locking the engine, and it ends up bending a rod. It usually just bends it a little bit, and then in like 300 or 400 hours, that rod decides to leave the program, and then now you're quiet. Unlike him, we don't have 2 engines. One of the unique things about this airplane is the Curtiss electric propeller. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's hollow. So it's a hollow steel blade with a cuff. What another unique thing about this airplane that none of the other ones had is this intake area down here. That engine is not that big. It's actually pretty small when you take the cowling off. But all of this is for air not only going down for the induction, but underneath you can see the bubble down there. That's a turbo. So all the air in the airplane comes all the way down the bottom of it, goes through a compressor, gets compressed, goes through an intercooler, which I'll show you in the back, then turns around and comes all the way back up the airplane and actually runs right next to you. There's 2 ducts, one on each side, and then to get shoved down the carburetor. Oh. One of the cool things about the engine, it is actually supercharged. There's a supercharger that's actually running the whole time the engine's engaged, but there's not like a Corsair, a clutch that you shift gears. Then you've got a third control, so you have a mixture prop throttle. Then on the outside, you have a boost control, and you run that boost control up, and that starts setting your RPM. It closes the wastegates right here. So what we're doing, obviously, when we're looking around, we've got cowl flaps that cool the engine and the cylinders, oil cooler doors, and then here is the wastegate. When you're asking for high altitude performance and you want all the energy out of the turbo, these doors actually close completely and then send the exhaust all the way back down too. So there's ducts running. When you take the whole bottom of this airplane apart, there's ducts running all over it, and it's all to move air and exhaust.
What's max horsepower on this thing?
It's close to 3,000 pounds.
Okay.
Or 3,000 horsepower, sorry.
Yep.
In here, there's not actually a whole lot in the gear area. There's one giant cylinder that runs the gear. Looking at your brakes. Love the fact that they're running that Allison right now. Our struts are unique. We do pay attention to the struts a lot more than these guys apparently do, because there's 2 chambers in here, and you'll see one Schrader valve here and there's one in the back. When this thing fully extends, the gear's too big to go inside the airplane. So there's a valve in there that pushes on another valve, which opens a Schrader valve. So it's a valve on a valve with a valve. And as the gear goes up, there's a rod on the backside that actually starts to pull the gear, and it compresses it to about this length. Mm-hmm. But you have to make sure that thing hasn't leaked, because if you take off and that's got full, 600-700 pounds on it, it'll go up and then it breaks and it jams the gear against one of the lips there, and you will not get the landing gear down. So that's
like
actually
have you had that happen to you?
No.
Oh, you
Steve
haven't?
Hinton had it happen to him, and he actually somehow got the landing gear out. But it's one of the few things that when he was giving me my checkout in the airplane, he's like, "Don't go fly unless you check that."
Yeah.
So, and then of course we've got our 8 guns. One's obviously really recessed. One of the things that is unique to this airplane is the amount of ammunition. I have no idea how many
I think
rounds
it was 3,400 rounds it can carry.
But in that 3,400 rounds, each one of these guns has exactly 9 yards of ammunition.
Yeah.
And all that's from here out to here. You can see on top of the wing, there's a huge door that actually opens backwards, and that is the whole belt of ammunition.
The whole 9 yards, as
The
they
whole
say,
9
right?
yards. That's
The
where
whole
that
9
saying
yards.
came
Yep,
from.
Yep.
And you've got your ailerons, and what's really nice about this airplane is they did a freeze aileron, so air comes in here, and they designed it so even at low speed, which surprised me, it's got really good ailerons. You can roll this thing at like 150, and it
Rolls fine.
It does not care. You do that with a Mustang, and it's going to cry.
Yeah.
So coming back around, big giant flaps. Our approach speed, it's 150 on downwind, 150 miles an hour anytime you're in a turn. And then you land and you 140, 130, 120, and you're crossing the fence about 110. This is the exit door for the intercooler. There's a gigantic intercooler that's just as wide as the airplane, and that some of that air that comes in the front also goes through this heat exchanger basically, but it's an air-to-air intercooler. And these doors, you got 2 little switches here. One's for the oil control door and one's for this door. And you set them for in-flight. There's a temperature gauge that you're trying to keep it under.
Yeah.
And then obviously this is the exit, and there's a turbo, and it's about this big and about that tall. Takes I don't know how much it weighs, 700-800 pounds. But a lot of guys have decommissioned the turbo, but you have to leave it in there. Otherwise, you got to add a ton of lead in the back of it.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's. We're getting close. So let's just say, hey, we're done with this pre-flight for right now, and I'm going to open it up to questions. So let's walk back to the chairs. We'll open it up for some questions, and then we'll wrap this up. So with that, questions for the hog drivers here. They're going to be flying. Oh, you're done flying here, I think, aren't you? Or
we have a demo on Thursday afternoon.
Okay, Thursday afternoon they're going to be flying. All 4?
4 ship led by Turtle, and there should be pyro for that demo.
Okay, outstanding. That'll be fun. All right, so questions. We got anywhere? Anybody got any questions? Okay, there's one right there.
First of all, thanks for being here, guys. It's been really great hearing your stories and hearing about the aircraft. I'm curious from the Guard guys, what are you planning on flying once this airframe retires?
Funny you should ask. I can jump in there real quick. My old Guard unit lost all its airplanes. We had guys either quit, retire, or transfer to other units. And they turned my old flying unit into a intelligence wing. So the old unit that I was with has no airplanes anymore, and it's sad. I'll say that right now. In particular, what's happening to this organization is somewhat similar. I'll let Slug talk about it, but I don't know. They've been trying to get rid of the A-10 for years now, and it was successfully fought for years, and they finally lost the fight. So Slug knows better about what his experienced combat pilots will be doing when these airplanes go away.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. Just to give a little background on the question, we've been flying. The 104th Fighter Squadron actually celebrated their 104th year of operations on June 29th of this year. So I've been flying for 104 years, and very unfortunately, decision's been made that the wing will transition to cyber. We certainly disagree with that, but that's the path that the Air Force is choosing to go down. That being said, specifically we'll talk fighter pilots or attack pilots. We have 30 attack pilots. We have about 14,000 combat hours. About 80% of our pilots are instructor pilots. You will not find that anywhere on active duty. So an incredibly experienced and diverse and combat proven unit, and the Air Force is choosing to divest them. So the bottom line is none of our pilots will transition to the cyber mission. I certainly don't expect any of our pilots will do that. So they are working on finding jobs elsewhere. Some will transition out of the military. Some will transition just purely back to their civilian flying jobs. And then some will be fortunate as they're able to find jobs with other fighter squadrons. So likely places to land will be F-35 Squadron, F-16 Squadron, F-15EX Squadron are probably the three that you would think of outside of the A-10. And then some may choose to go to Michigan or Boise, which are still flying the A-10 as guard units. So.
It's sad. I'm sorry, but it's sad. And yeah, we're losing a lot of experience. We're losing a lot of capability, and we're losing a lot of very dedicated veterans. That's all I can say. So I understand. All right, go ahead.
Yes, I saw in one of these, I think it's Air Force Times or something like that, where the Navy now, they're contracting with the Air Force for their A-10s. When the Marines go on long-range missions in their Ospreys, they want a flying bomb dump above them. So anything that they can counter, they know that they can take care of it. And then when I was overseas, I didn't see him, but I could hear him. And you say, man, somebody's on the bad end of this today. And I heard you guys are the only guys in the Air Force that have earned and carried a title called Grunts of the Air, because we know on the ground you guys are coming down to our level.
Yeah, they are the grunts of the air, that's for sure. And they also, another mission that is losing, search and rescue. The old search and rescue airplane used to be the SPAD, the A1, the AD, of whatever you want to call it, And then they paired these guys up with helicopters and C-130s, and that was Moody down there. That was a rescue operation, and this was an ideal operation for search and rescue. Hey, you guys are down there going round and round, keeping the heads down. Hey, we get the helicopter to come there, rescue the guys, and yeah, that mission is, I guess, going to go to the F-35 also. What can I say? All right, any others? Okay, there's one right there.
Yeah, my understanding is that they're getting rid of the A-10, and that mission is going to go to the F-35. Yet you have all these fellows here that
we're losing. I think that stopped working. Did it? Is it? All right, try it again.
Yeah, my understanding is that once the A-10 goes, then you're going to go to F-35. But you two and some of the others have mentioned that these units that now they're flying the A-10, these pilots are going off to retire or doing something else. So it doesn't sound like the F-35 is truly going to take over this mission. So what's going on?
Well, the replacement for the A-10 is supposed to be the F-35, right? They're saying the F-35 is going to be the replacement. Whether that really happens or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, the political decision has been made, and yeah, I think it's too late to fight at this point. There've been some real battles, I have to say, on Capitol Hill in regards to this decision, and yeah, we've lost, and so yeah, take a close look when we're done here if you want to walk around, because this is probably going to be the last time you have an opportunity to see an A-10 around here. Yeah, I agree. It's like yeah, it's bad news. All right, another question. No? All right, well, with that, I'm first going to say, guys, and this is to Rock and Slug, I'm sorry that the airplane's going away. I feel your pain. Oh, hold on here. But I also say thank you for what you've done, for the lives that you've saved, and yeah, don't ever think that what you did goes unnoticed, because yeah, there's a lot of us out there that know exactly what you've done, and we say thank you. A lot of time away from home, we get that, and yeah, you guys are doing it for real. So thank you, Bernie. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much for bringing. You flew that thing in here too, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And you're flying it out. Oh,
Yeah.
and I got to say thank you to the North Dakota, what's it officially called, North Dakota Aviation Museum?
DTAM.
Okay.
Dakota Territory Air Museum.
Air Museum. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you to those guys for allowing us to have this airplane here. All right, folks. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. Good shows tomorrow. We've got a show at 10 o'clock, another show at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah, we'll hope the rain stays away. Thanks, Slick. Appreciate it very much. Yep. Good job, Rock. Well done.
imagined every blade, between our toes, across our backs, to run over its hills, marvel at its beauty, and find comfort in its stillness. We were made for grass. It's where we battled and celebrated, built monuments, grew families, forged memories, and pushed ourselves farther than ever before. We were made for grass, to care for, nurture, and cultivate. We've always made sure to have a patch of our own, because there's no greater feeling than being on the grass, except leaving it.
On January 17, 1942, Chief of U.S. Army Air Forces Henry H. Hap Arnold assigned the responsibility for one of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's highest military priorities, a payback attack on the Japanese home islands, to one of the most famous aviators in history, Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle. In a mere 66 days, Doolittle had identified the airplanes that could be modified to launch a carrier-based attack some 450 miles from Japan, had assembled the volunteer crews, modified the Mitchell B-25s to give them the range to reach a safe haven in free China after the raid, and accomplished the mapping and charting the crews would require. Now on March 23, 1942, Doolittle assembled the men who had been training for the mission at their training base near Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It was time to fly the planes west to the Sacramento, California Air Depot for final adjustments. As he had before, Doolittle offered any man who wanted to the ability to leave the highly dangerous mission without recrimination. None did.
You don't take off on a mission like this without a light at the end of the tunnel. We all thought that somehow we'd get out of it.
Well, in the training in Florida, we were always flying just above the water all the time, right down over the river valleys and between the trees. And then we head stopped all the way across the United States to Alameda, down as low as we could fly.
Yeah, I think Bill asked me if I would go as his co-pilot, and I said, well, of course.
Somewhere along the line, they interject the thing that it was a suicide mission. I don't think it was any more of a suicide mission than the guys taking off from England, going over to Germany. It was just signs of the times, and that's the way it had to be. And that's the way it was, and that's the way it was accepted.
I'm Gary Sinise, and this is Missions That Changed the War.
To me, lawn service is a scam.
There's no lawn service for you.
Unfortunately, I don't trust them very much because I don't know what they're putting down.
Nobody's going to pay attention to your lawn like you do.
It's the whole point of owning a home is that you maintain your own lawn.
We've taken care of this lawn from day one.
I take pride in it, and when people tell me it looks good, it makes me feel even better.
Do you use a lawn service?
Absolutely not. I have you.
I know what I'm putting down when I put Scott's down. I'm putting down a great product.
STS-27 was my third launch, and it was only the second launch after the Challenger accident. Well, I will never forget, we maneuvered the arm, and Mike Mullane was my arm operator, so he moved the arm over there, and we brought up the television image of the right wing, and I looked at what I was seeing, and I said to myself, we are gonna die.
You know, plants aren't so different from us, are they, Ryan?
Plants need food like people need food.
And that's right, and they do tell us what they need, like this really good organic plant food from Miracle-Gro.
It's just as important as soil, sunlight, and water.
Ryan the philosopher. And you know what this one is telling me? She needs a spicy martharita and a lounge chair by the pool. These peppers look hangry, Ryan. Feed them, don't just stand there. You know, we started this controversy about whether this is dirt or soil.
Everyone's all up in arms about it.
So what do you call it?
You say dirt, I say soil, you say soil.
When do I say soil? I never say soil.
You just did.
There was a day in 2011 when I'm told I was the highest person on Earth. Literally. On that day, I traveled to the space equivalent altitude of 70,000 feet.
Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow.
It was a voyage to the edge of infinity. For a few minutes that I will remember for the rest of my life, I stared through the frost formed on the canopy of our aircraft as deeply as I could into forever. I'm Gary Sinise, and this was my high flight.
Thank you so much.
There will be a time on Wednesday when you're the highest person on Earth.
Congratulations on that. Yeah. You got it. That'll be good for the wall. How are you? I'm Gary. Thank you.
We gathered to celebrate a life of relentless evil. And though I gave you a quick death, it was not mercy. It was Ortho Ground Clear Weed and Grass Killer.
Kill 'em all! Ortho Ground Clear kills really fast and for organic gardening. Speed you can trust.
So he comes back in a few minutes with a guy about his age, same size. He says, "Now this is the camp commander." And I said to myself, "Oh yeah, this was Saturday morning." I said, "Oh yeah, these guys were out drinking beer last night." They said, "Oh, we're gonna have some fun with a new guy." He asked, "Will you write your autobiography?" I said, "Nope." He talked in Vietnamese. He says, "He asked you one last time?" I said, "No." He talked to me. He says, "He orders you to write your autobiography." I said, "I take my orders from the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force." He talked a little more in Vietnamese, and he says, "One more time?" I shook my head. And the camp commander looks up in very good English and says, "You will be very sorry." Got up and walked out. 2 or 3 minutes later, this big guy comes in, biggest Vietnamese I saw. And they put me on the ground, pulled my arms back up behind me. I couldn't do it again. My life depended on it. My palms were together behind my neck. I could scratch my neck. And they put Vietnamese handcuffs right there. And they walked out. And I thought, this ain't a big deal. About 5 minutes later, my hands were numb, my arms were numb, and shortly my shoulders were numb, and pretty soon my chest was numb. And it proved, for me at least, the whole point was, we can make you do it. What that sergeant had said. We'll show you that we run this camp. You'll do what we tell you to do. Then that night, when you were asking, this was really my low point. When I ate that meal and realized that I had been broken. And so I went over and leaned up against a wall, just slumped down, and there was one light way over in the corner. And I looked up, and it just kept attracting my attention. And I remember thinking it was like Moses in the burning bush, I guess. And I sat there and I looked at the light. And whether it was a split second or an hour, I can't tell you. But I had an experience of something happened to me, and it was all over. I feel very comfortable, very secure. You're going to live, you're going to get out of this, and you'll go home someday.
What do you love the most about air races? Camaraderie. Everybody is friends, everybody helps each other, and we're all very professional and have a great time.
Some say we're crazy. I'd put it more, we have a deep affliction and a commitment to the skills and the practice of aviation. We love it.
Came for the airplanes and the races, but we keep coming back for the family.
The Section 3 people were just all over me, wanting me to autograph every part of their body, and it was great. I love Section 3.
If you like P-51s, if you like Warbirds, you like jets, you just like tinkering with airplanes, this is the place.
What's the best part about the air races?
Everything. It's the people that makes it unique.
Whole lot of love.
Whole lot of love.
Whole lot of love.
Whole lot of love.
Control, Sport Gold takes about 3 minutes from the start.
Sport Gold Flight Race Control, cleared onto the course.
Copy, cleared on the course.
230 at 17, gust 27, break.
Nice job, guys. Everybody lining it up. Looking perfect. Everybody hold what you got.
Bar none, this is the fastest motorsport in the world.
Base plane to race aircraft. Gentlemen, you're looking good. Gentlemen, you have a race.
And it looks like it might be Wee Willie that will be Robbie Patterson, followed by Sweet and Love.
That was fun.